Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to Radio Wasteland, the show about paranormal stuff. I'm your host, Chauncey Haworth, and this is my sidekick host. I don't know, you can be the host, and I'm your sidekick, Sean.
That was so confusing.
Well, you know.
My name's Sean, the other guy is Chauncey.
Yeah, if a paranormal show is known for anything, it's probably for graying up the situation pretty good.
That's true.
So we like to gray it up around here.
That is true, even when it comes to things that actually have simple, clear-cut answers.
Right. The only things around here that are straight black and white answers are good and evil.
That's true.
You know, exorcisms, stuff like that.
Yeah, actually, especially when you consider that Sean isn't actually my real name.
What's your real name?
It doesn't matter.
Is it evil?
Yes. Huh. Anyway,
right.
Yeah, how are you doing?
You know, pretty good. Pretty good. Been, you know, just kind of working and floating through life here, it seems. Trying to survive.
Sorry. Yeah, normally when I walk in here, I know that you're going to ask me how I'm doing, and I have something for this. But I'm glad that you didn't, because today, I don't know why, I just wandered in with nothing. No preparation. I was just walking to the studio and oh, the show will do itself, I guess. And here I am.
I came in with the exact same reason. And so, you know, the reason
Which is
why...
funny, because I think the show will be good, because we have killer guests.
Right. And that's why, you know, so normally when we have a guest, on the day of the show, I check out their website, I research, and normally I spend a couple of days in advance doing this. So when we had today's guest, I knew that I was fairly confident on the topic.
Right.
Because...
well, I expect that you are.
I'm just going to take it out of the realm of...
let's ungray it here.
Let's ungray it.
Let's make it clear.
Our topic tonight is prepping for the zombie apocalypse.
Yes. A topic that has been tragically, under talked about on this show, but it's hard to find people for this.
Oh, yeah. But, I feel like most of the prepping for the zombie apocalypse would actually come from, seeing how there aren't many zombies that we know of, would come from the movies.
Right.
And when it comes to the movies, I'm pretty well prepped.
Exactly, yeah. So I unfortunately am not as much. I've seen The Walking Dead and Dawn of the Dead and all that.
The Walking Dead.
I mean, I've seen a couple episodes. Yeah, I know, it sucks. I watched it because I felt it was a cultural touchstone that I had to see.
I watched the first season. I got bored.
Yeah, but it wasn't great. Dawn of the Dead, though, I did watch that, so I have a little bit of cred. But you've watched every zombie movie known to man, yes?
I'm just about there. And I'll say this about The Walking Dead, is that George Romero was asked to direct a couple of episodes of The Walking Dead, and he refused to do it because he said it was basically a soap opera. And that's my problem with the show, yeah. that I don't like. Right. I understand that there's a lot of fans out there, but I'm a movie fan, and I'm looking for a faster pace. And man, there's a lot of people talking about their feelings.
Yeah.
Right.
Which can be good.
I got a family, man. I hear people talking about their feelings all the time. I don't know. I don't need to spend hours. I don't need to marathon out my weekend listening to other people talk about their feelings.
Yeah. But how often are you decapitating zombies with hubcaps or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean...
You throw it like a discus.
Did that happen? Does that work?
No, I don't know. I don't know what I was going to say, but hubcap is the word that came out, and then I was shoot, where did that come from?
Yeah, I have a feeling tonight's guest, Cameron Carlson, who's going to talk to us about prepping for the zombie apocalypse,
yes,
would tell us that a hubcap is probably not the preferred weapon of choice.
Right, but, I mean, compared to your fists, if you have a hubcap and you don't have anything else, I'm just saying, it's made of hard metal. You may as well.
Right. Oh, yeah. If that's what you got, that's what you got.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of this actually deals with zombies in general. There's a lot of great pseudo-zombie movies.
Sure.
That really kind of cover the topic of... Well, his website refers to it as a rage virus. And so really kind of one of the most famous is The Crazies. They remade this here recently. And it's like about a town that ends up getting this crazy virus, and they go, ape caca and
right,
kill everybody. And then the government comes in. A large portion of it is about the government. And, these movies through the 80s and the 90s, they really don't do justice to sort of portraying what the government might possibly do in these situations like they did in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's very off topic, but The Andromeda Strain was a really interesting movie.
I love the book. Haven't seen the movie.
And half the movie is them going through the quarantine process.
Oh yeah.
It's like the psychedelic end of 2001: The Space Odyssey, but it's really them just going through sprays and different colored lights. But it's really good.
It is good. I assume.
You assume. So, did anything happen to you this week non-zombie related?
Oh, non-zombie related. Okay. No.
No, nothing.
No, this week was just wall-to-wall, back-to-back zombies. So sorry, I can't come up with anything.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how our audience feels about this. The topic zombies, when it came up, did they scoff or did they go hey, that's really cool?
Right.
Because I got to say to the audience,
we've done some of the weirder stuff. We did Flat Earth, we did vampires, which I wager that is probably not a lot of people believe in that, right?
Yeah, but I gotta say that even if you don't believe in zombies at all,
right,
it's kind of a fun way to prep for all the other terrifying things that might possibly happen.
That's a really good point, actually. And we did do I think our second show, right, was pandemics.
Yeah.
Yes. And as I was saying earlier, I feel like a lot of zombie tips could, with very little adaptation, apply to a situation in which 90% of the Earth is dying from some plague.
Right.
Because that's still going to be a survival situation. You're still going to have to keep your stuff safe from all the infected looters who are, trying to find water or something after society collapses.
Right. Have you seen that South Park with the homeless? Where, how zombies in Return of the Living Dead, they say, brains, right? Mm-hmm. There's this episode of South Park, only it's the homeless saying change. And they're all change, and they're all, oh, God, they're having to. Then one guy needs to make a phone call, and he asks people for change, and they think he's turned now, and they shoot him in the head. It's really just over the top.
Yes, that does sound like South Park.
It is good. That sounds like South Park. All right, coming up next here, we have Cameron Carlson to talk about prepping for the zombie apocalypse here on Radio Wasteland. Come on back. 'Cause I'm a Southside protein, all right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland and our guest, Cameron Carlson. Cameron, do we have you there with us?
I am here, ready to go.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show. How are you all doing?
Oh, really good. So, I gotta start with it this way. Can you tell us a little bit about you and how you got interested in zombie apocalypse?
Yeah, of course. So obviously my name is Cameron Carlson. I'm an active duty officer in the United States Navy. I got interested in zombies. I kind of always been interested in zombies, ever since the Resident Evil games on the PlayStation 1 came out when, I was 12. And ever since then, it's been kind of just it's kind of been in the back of my mind, and it didn't really take hold until actually my master's thesis a couple of years back. I said, okay, so my master's thesis is going to be on emergency management, and what better way to do it than a zombie apocalypse. So I got in touch with the Zombie Research Society's founder, Matt Moog, and I set up an interview with him down in Los Angeles, drove down, and I interviewed him, and I said, hey, if you ever want any help with the society, please let me know. I'll be a good resource for you. And 4 months went by, and he called me up. He says, are you still interested? I said, is the Pope Catholic? And I've been doing that with them ever since. Doing a lot of really cool stuff with the society, getting ready to go to Arizona to do a conference. Beyond that, I'm an amateur bladesmith. I got a gunsmithing business. I build guns, beer, brew beer, and kind of just hang out with the wife and the dog and the cat.
Sounds pretty pleasant to me. That's what I'm hoping to do as soon as I can get my dang kids out of the house. So, the immediate question that was prompted to me every time I talk to somebody about having this topic on the show is, they would say to me, and I'm hoping you don't take offense to this because I'm guessing you've heard it before, but they would say, does this guy really believe that there are zombies? And so I guess I have to ask you, do we have reason to believe that there would really be zombies?
So the answer to that question is no, but yes. So
I like your style.
So, yeah, exactly.
That's a good one.
If you look at the zombie apocalypse, it's one of the best analogs for the worst case scenario. And as we talk, I'll get in. We could talk about how the CDC even uses this to their advantage, and and how the video game industry uses the zombie apocalypse to their advantage as well. Zombies from a practical standpoint, no, but from an evolutionary and a nature standpoint, absolutely. They have zombie ants that are created by the cordyceps fungus in the jungle, and that in itself is the definition of a zombie. And the word zombie also comes up in voodoo religion down in Haiti. So from a practical 28 days later Zombieland, no. From a Last of Us kind of video game, absolutely. I think it's a possibility, especially with the advancements in the technology.
Yeah, that's one thing that we were kind of brainstorming before the show, is we were saying, like, that even if one doesn't believe in actual Walking Dead, it is kind of a fun, extreme concept way to really sort of prep for worst case scenario. And that's actually one of the things that we were talking about too.
Yeah, that's absolutely 100% accurate. It is a fun way to do it. And if you look back 4 or 5 years ago, it was the whole rage. No one had heard of the word prepping before, Resident Evil, before 28 Days Later, and there was an explosion of all these different, media outlets, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm prepping for the zombie apocalypse. No, you're not. You're just prepping for a worst case scenario. Let's be honest. Let's call it what it is. Yeah. But it was a fun way to do it. And let's be honest, we all have that one moment in our mind going, zombie apocalypse could be fun.
Right. Yeah.
That's true.
Although I did take a test online, I've talked about it here before, that said I would last 5 minutes.
Remember, you only have to be faster than the slowest person.
Right. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I might be the slowest person. I actually have been talking to my wife about this, and at first she looked at me like I was crazy, because I've wanted to prep as a hobby, just because I thought it was interesting. And I came at her with this idea, and I finally kind of gotten through to her, and she likes it. And what I want to do is I want to prep as a hobby, but really for retirement.
Yeah.
So that when the day comes for my family to retire, my wife and I will pretty much have everything that we need to survive our remaining years out.
Well, yeah. I'm not against it. I think prepping for a certain extent is, absolutely adequate, and I think it's absolutely necessary. You don't know when things are going to go south. You don't know when you're going to lose power. You don't know when you're going to lose the essentials. And you know what? Many people, my dream when I retire is I want to move back to Montana in the middle of nowhere where nobody can bother me, and just, live off the grid, because it just sounds appealing to me. I'm from Montana, and I think there's some validity to that. So yeah, I'm all for it and I support it.
Yeah. So in order to sell this to my wife better, instead of using the term live off the grid, I told her that we need to go homesteading.
See, that's a much better piece of thing.
Yeah, I have to butter it up for her. So you got this thing started, and so, how do you help people? How do you help people prep for worst case scenario?
So, if you look, I don't know how much you played around on the ZRS's website, but if you look on the website has evolved and morphed into more than just a satirical look at zombies. Yeah. It's morphed into a no-kidding data repository of science, of survival, of places to go, of culture, religion, you name it. You could find articles on it there. Mm-hmm. So,
I just have to say, when I was looking at it, I thought the articles that I read were really impressively in-depth and well-researched and all of that. So it's what you're saying is true. It's not just zombie stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about it, is that it provides a depth of knowledge that, everybody, you're not going to go onto the website without some kind of morbid curiosity. Like, what are these people doing? Even if it's I'm going to go on there to see, make fun of it. you're going to end up going down a rabbit hole because something's going to grab your attention. And, you know, if it's from someone who wants to learn how to survive in the woods, there's articles on that. Someone who wants to learn, you know, what the experts think that the zombie apocalypse is actually going to look like. Could it be coming in the form of a rabies virus, you know, since it's a mind-altering virus, or is it going to come in the form of a fungus? And these are all the things that can be seen, you know, through the website. And that's what the society really does. It brings an awareness to knowledge and access to knowledge that people may not have had in the past.
Yeah, I definitely like that. And you know, I came into this show, I am a fanatical horror movie fan. So I came into this show figuring that I was pretty well researched, at least from a movie level, when it came to this stuff. And you know, you keep bringing up the fungus, and there's really only one movie that I can think of that really says the fungus as a possible thing. It's a fairly new one, The Girl with All the Gifts. Have you ever seen this?
Oh, yeah.
And you know, when I watched that, I thought of the same thing that you were talking about with the zombie ants, and I'm all, oh my God, you know, then maybe we'll have some. But, you know, we're coming up on our commercial break here, not too long. Is there any science on a human level saying, because I'm assuming that maybe you're a little more pragmatic on the topic, but I'm sure that there are some extremists out there who are really concerned about zombies and rage viruses and stuff like this. Is there really any science to us being nervous about any of those? Have we seen anything even slightly resembling that in the scientific field? Like for humans?
Not really. I mean, if you want to look at it from a scientific standpoint as a, you know, disease or a virus, from a pragmatic standpoint, everything that we've seen now, no. For the simple fact that, you know, the zombies that we see in the movies, for instance, World War Z takes about 11 seconds for a person to turn from a human being to a zombie. Just by pure, you know, physiology and from a disease, you know, virology standpoint, it would take days, weeks to actually have the effects. And by that point, you would have already been, you know, quarantined, you know, run tests, you name it. So not really, but, you know, as Jurassic Park says, you know, nature will find a way.
Yeah, that's true.
So not really. I mean, there are articles out there about what it would look like if it did come about, and the resounding community says that it may be, if it was to come about, would resemble kind of rabies and a flu virus combined.
Right. Right. Because, yeah, you deal with these sort of hyper-contagious things like Ebola that make people sick, but if it didn't really knock out their bodies and it made them just kind of moving and highly infectious, you know, you're pretty close to there.
Right. And you know, the biggest thing that people forget is that zombies are going to be basically mindless drones. So you've got to figure out a way to have a virus or a disease that knocks out all of your higher cognitive functions, just literally allows you to just basically meander about and let gravity take you where it will.
Right. Let the hunger take you where it will.
Yeah, the hunger, yeah.
All right, you're listening to Cameron Carlson here on Radio Wasteland. We're talking about prepping for the zombie apocalypse. We're coming up on our first break here, so stick around and come on back. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland, and we're talking to our guest Cameron Carlson about prepping for the zombie apocalypse. All right, Cameron, let's take this topic as though the zombie apocalypse is totally plausible. It is going to happen. What's the first thing people need to do?
Well, first thing they need to do is they need to have an exit strategy. They need to have a plan. You know, one of the articles that I wrote is where do you think you're going to go is basically the premise. I've heard a lot of people say, well, I'm going to go to Walmart or I'm going to go to Home Depot. Yeah. Okay. Well,
so's everybody else.
But, right. With you and everybody else. Exactly. Get out of Dodge. Have a plan. Have your exit strategy for your vehicle. Have a bag packed if you need it. You know, that's your first step. Make sure you have all the essentials. Get ready to leave everything that is non-valuable. And when I mean non-valuable, yard sale it. Like if you can't carry it, leave it. You know. And
you mean valuable. You mean valuable for the new world.
Correct.
Yeah.
TVs are, that 72-inch plasma that you rescued, you know, is not going to be valuable in the new world. Sorry.
Right.
So that's your first step. Second step is, while you're doing all that, get yourself a good survival book. A good book is, How to Live in the Woods or How to Survive in the Woods. That'll give you all, and carry it with you. Put it in your bag. Learn your basic medical and your basic survival skills. Learn how to make water. Learn how to make a fire. And I know it sounds weird, but learn basic blacksmithing skills, like how to make something out of a piece of metal, whether it be a crude knife or, a fish hook. Once you have that, take a CPR class. Get some basic medical skills. Once you have all those down, then you can start looking for a place. Like, where am I going to go? Where are we going to go? Are we going to go into the city? Probably not. You're going to hightail it to the mountains where the population is scarce. And then from there, it's kind of like, okay, now you take the skills that you've learned and that you've gathered and you put them towards living the new life, basically.
Yeah, so, for our audience out there, for those who aren't using their imagination on here, your talk of the value of your TV definitely prompted one thought to me that has been all over the news as a possibility for an environment like this, and that would be an EMP.
True.
An electromagnetic pulse would basically bring down society rather quickly, and so, yeah, no electronics, just, I think, a bug-out bag. But what about a guy like me? I got kids, how does... You just have to have extra prep, huh?
Yeah, you've got to put the time and the effort into, examining, okay, so if you have 2 kids, a wife, and yourself, you have to put the time and the effort into understanding that your bags, you might have to have multiple bags. You might have to have multiple crates. If you're in a readily wooded area, then you can have a vehicle with a bug out box. Make sure that they've got a stockpile of medicines. Make sure you've got the basic necessities to survive: toothpaste, toothbrush, basic hygienic products, and then go from there. It's all based upon, you can tailor it around what you think is important, because what I think is important you may not care what I think is important. I may say guns, ammo, and MREs are important for me. Okay, well, that's me. That might not be what you want. So everything, when it comes to preparing for a worst-case scenario, the basic essentials, food, water, and the, basic needs to live, that's what you need to have, and then you can branch out from there.
And the ability to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. A knife, a hatchet, a gun. It's all situational dependent. A good knife is crucial, and I actually tell that to everybody. And the ability to use that knife. I can say we should all carry a broadsword, but if you weigh 90 pounds, you're not going to really be effective with it. So,
yeah, I feel like a lot of the amateur zombie research / discussions I've seen online, not your stuff, but the lesser quality stuff, basically focuses almost entirely on your weapons. What weapons are you going to need to have? As in assuming, it's just going to be one combat situation from beginning to end.
Right.
But it sounds like that's really not the case. It's more of you're surviving in the woods, and maybe or maybe not, you'll bump into a zombie or whatever.
Right, and if you look at it from a purely movie perspective or the Walking Dead perspective, a gun is not going to do anything but cause you problems. As much as I hate to admit it, rather a Daryl solution would be a bow or a knife or anything quiet. A rock, to hell with it. But yeah, it's every situation that you're going to run into is going to require a different set of skill sets.
Right. So, I read this statistic that basically if there was some sort of collapse of the power grid here in the United States, within something like the first 6 months, half the population would basically die either by starvation or being killed by the other half of the population.
I find that very morbid.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
I feel like we need to watch something fun now. So I think, let's say, actually for the master's thesis, I did a study on red celling or red teaming, kind of like finding the vulnerabilities in the Los Angeles power grid. And the first thing that I realized is that if I could attack any major power hub or water treatment facility that would bring down certain areas of Los Angeles, that, yeah, you can inflict massive damage on a really wide scale. And the worst part of it is you're going to have backup generators running for a long time, but if a major power hit like an EMP happened, the water treatment facilities are going to last maybe about a week. And at that point, you're out of clean water. Body can survive about 3 to 4 weeks if you're in really good shape without food, but it can only last 6 to 7 days without, maybe less without water, depending on the physical stress. So I could completely see that happening, as much as it pains me to say that. But yeah, I could absolutely see that.
So, as you do this, what do you think the likelihood of us needing to utilize these skills really are?
I think, on a grand scale, as in like an EMP or a nuclear blast, I think it's small. But what I do believe in is that having the skills, if you have the skills now, then when you absolutely need them, as in ones or twos, like CPR, or, if your power goes out for a long period of time, like Hurricane Andrew, I was without power for almost a week. So if you knew how to make water, or you know how to get clean water, then that's one less thing you have to worry about. But on a grand scale, I would say slim to none, and none usually wins.
Right. Okay, so we got our first things that we need to do in order to prep for this sort of situation. You got to have a place to go, and you got to have your bag packed, your bug out bag, right?
Right.
Okay, so somebody who's taken it to the next level, where do they go?
So now we're getting to the realm of the ultimate preppers. These guys or girls are the ones that have the 3 wide Connex boxes or grain silos buried in the ground. So, for the normal human being like myself, my wife, and I guess I could say maybe 50% of my friends, a bug out bag, they're 2 feet, and a place to go is all they need. And then they'll figure it out from there. But for the rare few, the other 3% that are really into this and really hardcore about it, which there are people out there. To each their own, but they're out there. They've already figured out where they're going to go. They've already built their shelter with, sustainable resources, with blueprints that only they know, in a place that only they know. So that's where you're going to find. That's what they're going to do. They're going to head out, and they're going to hunker down, and they're going to wait for the end of the world to pass, basically. Yeah,
I can't help but to make movie comparisons as we talk about this, and that makes me think of 10 Cloverfield Lane. Did you see that one?
Yeah, from John Goodman.
Yeah, and he has the crazy hermetically sealed underground bunker and all that. I don't know. That was pretty cool. I want one.
Blast from the Past.
What'd you say?
I said I was thinking a little more happy with Blast from the Past, but yeah.
That movie was awesome.
Yeah.
That movie was absolutely awesome. When he comes out of the bottom and the guy has the tattoo on his forehead, that was the funniest thing ever.
Absolutely. In the dance club.
Yeah. All right, well, we're coming up on our commercial break here. You're listening to Cameron Carlson. We're talking about prepping for a zombie apocalypse and prepping in general. You're listening to Radio Wasteland. Come on back. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland, and we're talking about prepping for the zombie apocalypse with Cameron Carlson. Man, we had a good laugh during this break here, quoting tons of lines from that movie Blast from the Past. I don't think Sean here has seen it.
No.
So we're going to have to force that on him.
Right.
I really like, Cameron, that, I tend to be drawn towards this sort of negativity, the world's going to fall apart. And here you are talking about zombie apocalypse and doomsday prepping and all this stuff. But you tend to look on the light side of all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think a positive attitude might be a very important tool for prepping for the apocalypse.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can't look at the dark side of everything. As one of my favorite movies, Zombieland, I think it was like rule number 14, appreciate the little things.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got to take some humor into the whole zombie apocalypse thing, because if you think about it, the world's going to come to an end. At some point, you just got to kick back, crack a beer, and go, well, this sucks, but, what are we going to do about it? Let's roll. And you wake up the next day, and you don't have to go to work. There you go. So, yeah, I mean, I tend to make fun of it, from that standpoint, and I that feeds off everything else that I do with the research and with all that other stuff, because it leads to different outcomes than it would if you just looked at the doom and gloom.
Right. Hey, I got a message here from Andrea saying something about the Zombie Apocalypse Medicine Alliance.
You're going to be a guest speaker at this.
You're going to be yeah, what is this?
So, Arizona State University in October 18th to the 21st, is putting on something called Zombie Med. It's basically a medical conference that's focusing on different aspects of the zombie apocalypse, whether that's from an epidemiological standpoint, from a survival, a biological standpoint, from a how is it going to come about, all that stuff. So it's going to be like 3 to 4 day conference on just that.
Really? And it's put on by who?
Arizona State University.
Really? Well,
yeah, it's legit.
Yeah, well, I don't know. This kind of comes back to what you were saying about how, preparing for worst case scenario, even beyond your wildest imagination, has you prepared for so much less than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, so let's just real quick, I'll give you an example. So every year the CDC comes out, and I'm sure you've seen it. If you've been on their website at all, you've seen that they have the hurricane and tornado and earthquake preparedness kits, right?
Sure.
Well, so every year those get approximately 80,000 hits a year. Okay, so that's not a lot, but it's a decent number. It's more than I get on my Facebook page. But then they come out the next year. So this was back in 2014. They had the hurricane preparedness kit the year before that. So it was water, a generator, a plan, a place to go, et cetera, about 80,000 people. The next year they came out with the zombie preparedness kit. This was the biggest. This is when the zombie culture really took its all-time high. And they came out with the zombie preparedness kit. And it was a picture. The poster was this girl that had these bloodshot eyes, and she was peering through a pair of Venetian blinds, and it said, "Are you prepared?" Well, here's the kicker. The kit for the zombie apocalypse was the exact same as the hurricane and tornado preparedness kit. The difference was 80,000 people for the hurricane, 200,000 in 3 months for the zombie preparedness kit.
Right. Yeah.
So,
oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, you're prepared for one, you're prepared for everything.
And plus for the accidental pun, you found a viral message. Something that went viral on the internet,
Yeah. That'll be the next zombie apocalypse. Memes. We'll just be fighting people, with memes scribbling out of their mouth.
Silent movies with this.
So what are you going to be speaking about at the Zombie Apocalypse Medicine Alliance? You're going to be talking about preparedness, I assume.
Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about emergency management for the zombie apocalypse, and then so that's going to be my big presentation, and then I'm going to shift over to I think about 15-minute, maybe a little less, like 15-minute little snippets here and there for the Zombie Research Society about survival and zombie culture and zombie science and things of that nature. So the big one's going to be on emergency management.
Man, I would love to see that. I used to live in the shadow of ASU. I lived in Tempe. And
you should totally come.
Yeah, that would be great. I definitely still have some friends down there. When is it exactly?
It's a cool flag,
When is it?
October.
October 18th to October 21st.
Very cool, very cool. And we're coming up not too far from the end of the show here, so let's make sure you get a chance to tell our audience where they can find out a little bit more about you, your website and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody who wants to learn about the, hopefully not, but the coming of the end of the world through the zombie apocalypse, can head over to www.zombieresearchsociety.com. You'll find a lot of different and really awesome information from survival to how the disease is going to come about and how to survive it. And remember, as we always say at the ZRS, what you don't know can eat you.
That's great slogan. All right, so basically we got our prep down and everything like that. I think a big question here is ethics in the apocalypse. You know, do you do any addressing of ethics? Because, I mean, a lot of those ethics are going to fall apart for a lot of people.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and this is obviously a very touchy subject for a lot of different people, because at what point do you say human testing is allowed? At what point do you start stripping basic human rights away, quarantining, martial law, you name it? But honestly, I will relate this to a ticking time bomb theory. Basically, it's if you know for a fact that what you're going to do or how you're going to do something is going to save thousands upon thousands of lives, and if you don't do it, those people are going to die. But the one thing that you have to do is, let's say, violate someone's human rights. Are you going to do it? And that's where everyone gets in this really bind going, oh, no.
Right.
I don't know. But if I was to say that, I would say if I knew for a fact that I was going to save the human race, then, yeah, I would probably do it. I would probably, do some shady things.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't have a choice, like I said earlier, I got a family, I don't really know where I would draw the line in order to take care of my family,
You're not gonna know that until it absolutely happens, and that's the scary part about it, is that there is that fine line that you don't know what you're capable of until you're put in that situation.
All right, well, we're here at the end of the show. Why don't you hit us with that website one more time?
Website is www.zombieresearchsociety.com. Check them out on Facebook and on the web.
Yeah, I spent several hours on the site today, man. It is really interesting.
It's good stuff.
It's not only informative, it's really fun.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you guys think that. That's awesome, and it's really good to hear that. And the founder and the editor really enjoy it.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show. You've been listening to Cameron Carlson here on Radio Wasteland. Thanks for checking us out.